I'm gonna talk about character. So you know, the first thing of all is audience needs to be connected or related to character. People should be exciting, extreme, dull, unique, and fun. Examples are the Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen, as she volunteered to her sister's position. So she was unique in the way she volunteered that no one had did before in the Hunger Games history. And she was exciting and extreme that she gave a pretty strong and fun battle at the arena. So, and then this over here is the conflict. It is the most wicked scene in most films. This is used as the main scene in most films. You need desire and opposition at the same time. If someone wants something and the other person doesn't, it has to be the equal amount. It can't have one person beating up someone. You need tons of drama and conflict because that is the most dramatic scene in most films. For example, you can see Iron Man or Avengers. Half the movie is just fighting and conflict against the enemy.
Now, content is the base of your story. It's like a light bulb. It's absolutely essential. Now, the thing about content is you don't want to spoon feed, as the image shown here says. You don't want to spoon feed your audience. You want them to use their imagination. And that way, you can lure them more into your story. You have to let them assume. Now, problems for your characters, such as conflict, like my partner has stated before, can be a great success for your story as a whole. When your character faces conflict in your story, the content becomes juicier and juicier. And that is why, like in the movie Big Fish by Tim Burton, conflict and content are an essential part when done well.
Now, probably the most important part of any film is definitely the flow or the configuration. Now it begins, as we can see, as we go more through the narrative arc, as this is called, the tension rises and the time passes as well. So in the beginning there is of course the introduction, where in the introduction there's background information about the conflict, characters, background information about everything that's essential. And then next would be the conflict, or basically known as the main problem, which there are four types: the man vs. man, man vs. self, man vs. machine, and man vs. nature. For example, when Batman fights Bane, that would be an example of man vs. man. Next, it would lead to the rising action. That is when the main character or the protagonist is getting through the obstacles, and confronting the first problems. And lastly, in the most important part of the story, the climax, that is where the last confrontation of from the main character happens, and this is where it shows the success or failure of the main character's mission. And then after the climax, directly comes the falling action, which is the and it has to be direct effect of the climax. And after the direct effect, there will be the resolution, where the moral or the theme of the entire film will be portrayed. And after the resolution, there will be a slight twist that will mess with the audience's brain or give a little more entertainment, which is free for your choice to. Free for whatever you would like to decide to do in that part. And in the end, the main character has completed a quest or something similar like that. There are three types of three types of narrative arcs. The first is definitely the straight line, where it goes in chronological orders, which is advised to use in stuff like documentaries. And next would be circle. Well, it starts off chronological order, then it turns into some type of flashback, and then it would end with a chronological order. And lastly, the spiral, which is actually what I just mentioned. And circle is beginning like something and ending the same, which is definitely important and should be used for maybe like short films.
now I'm gonna talk about condition. Condition gives the mood and feeling to the story. Then you can see it includes time, location, and weather. So weather really matters, because if a scene starts in a sunny day, then you know that scene or that part of scene is going to be happy. No sadness is going to be involved. But if it's rainy or cloudy day, then you know there's something's going to happen
bad to the main character. And the location really matters too, and the time. If it's morning time or noon, then you know something's gonna be really calm. If it's night, you know something's gonna be really bad. So condition makes the story more diverse and interesting. An example is Harry Potter, as the last movies. Last movie days were dark, so you know something's gonna happen really bad. And yeah.
Now, conduct is basically showing emotions of the film. Actors shouldn't be using sounds and voices to explain what their film is about. They should be using facial expressions, body languages, something that would show action. For example, they could be smiling when they're happy, or crying when they're sad, or angry when they're mad. You have to show the behavior of the character through the conduct and emotions of the character. For example, if you see Forrest Gump, you see him crying when he loses the love of his life, which shows sadness.
The next part is crutch. Now, crutch has a very literal meaning in a sense because crutches are an object and objects are very important in your stories. Now, crutches, the crutch, like crutches, support your story. Sometimes they can be passive, like objects in the background, or they can be very interactive. Like an example, in the movie Hunger Games, the Mockingjay pin serves as a symbolistic figure in the movie throughout. And that is why crutch is very important. But another thing is you need to organize your crutch. You need to prioritize your crutch because some objects are more important than others. You don't want to put significance on an object that no one would care about. You want to put significance on objects that would help your story become juicier.
So finally, after including all these elements, we have to consider that each and every one of these elements are important for the story, for the flow, and for everything just of the film to be great. Thank you.